Okay, and we're back. Um, so we're going from how you started to slowly get out of the house again, start doing stuff with the sports in the community, which helped with your confidence and some of the depression. So where does it go from there?
Yeah, I mean, when you've got two daughters and they're both in multiple sports, and some of them at the time, or some of them, both of them were playing for like school and club. So you're,
So we're past the 12-year-old point then.
um, yeah. So the oldest one, but yeah, by the time she's in middle school, she's playing for the middle school team, which is you're traveling and playing other schools and stuff. It's not like intramurals, and she's playing club ball. And then even at the time of soccer, when soccer had kind of ended, she had been playing for an indoor team, and she was the goalkeeper. So she was playing for them during basketball season. So she was like playing basketball for the town, indoor soccer there. So it was constantly
So
like
you were
there.
on the go a lot.
Yeah, there was no time to like even like I look back at that and go, how the hell did I even do it? Because we traveled to some places that I normally wouldn't have went, and it was, I guess because it was just maybe I was trying to make up for all the crap that I couldn't do, not crap, but the stuff that I felt
Right.
crappy about.
Could it have been too that they were older, a little bit less stress?
Yeah, that could have been some of it
Yeah.
because now they, not that you could leave them at home at 12 and 9. 12, that's kind of like the line. But yeah, I mean, obviously by that age they're doing everything by themselves.
Right.
So, you know, that could have been part of it. So I guess around 2004, 2005. Now I'm on, as we talked about in another episode. And again, anybody this is your first time seeing this, there's other episodes that you should watch right from the beginning, or you're going to be thoroughly confused about some of the stuff. That and this is not medical advice. This is just my my story of how things went
Right.
from my earliest recollections to today. The hell was I talking about?
2005.
No, 2004, 2005. There's the memory. That's how quick that went. So I'm on Klonopin daily as a therapeutic, or I don't know what they called it.
Therapy.
So every day,
Your daily regimen.
it was like 1 in the morning, half at night, and then I had Xanax for emergencies. At that time, I was probably still at the 0.25, or may have just jumped to 0.5, and like 30 of them a month. So it was kind of like, don't have more than one episode a day,
Right.
or you ain't going to make it, or you're just going to have to deal without it. And I dealt with for years without it, and the problem is, I wish I never would have went on it.
Why?
Because now, as soon as something kicks in, my first instinct is to grab the medication
Okay.
instead of. I won't say now. 10 years ago or so, that's how it was, because I couldn't differentiate normal nerves and logical fear as opposed to, oh shit,
Right.
here comes a panic attack, and irrational crap. Now I can tell it's just a nervous stomach. You just, it's a new doctor. You just got diagnosed with something different. It's
Right.
You're not going to freak out. So, yeah, I would have rather never taken it because like, anybody that has ever taken it, yeah, it works. It just works a little too good to where you start using it as, I don't know if I kind of, yeah, I'm just going to take it. So sometimes you're taking it when you probably, if you would have just waited,
Right.
but it's like, oh, I want to get ahead of it. And then, oh, there's, you're already fine and there's no way it even kicked in at that point.
Right.
I don't know about anybody else that takes anything like that. It's not instantaneous. It could be anywhere from 30 minutes to a couple of hours sometimes. But at that time, I believe that's the only medication I'm on. I don't think I'm on anything, you know, like now when you're older, you're on, vitamins and baby aspirin and stuff for antacid and all that crap. So I start running out of meds, mainly the Klonopin, early. So, oh, I had stopped taking the half at night. I was only taking the one. So so I was getting, for context, I was getting 45 a month, and I was taking 30. The other 15 would just carry over.
Right.
I never took them as like extra or anything because they don't kick in for like an emergency. Maybe they do for other people. They don't.
It's usually not given as needed, so no.
It for that took months for me to feel any effects from the Klonopin, except for in the beginning making me tired. There was no real like anti-anxiety kind of
Right.
feel taking them. Over a period, is where I felt the difference. So I was taking the 30 and there was the 15 that would just carry over to the next month. And then, within a couple of months, you would just hold off on getting a script filled because you didn't need it.
Right.
And then I had the 30 Xanax. I started noticing that about 15 of them would be missing each month. And I'm like, am I, am I taking, am I forgetting and taking it twice sometimes? And then same thing with the Xanax. It started to be like, wait, there should be this many, why, So I literally, I'm questioning whether I'm taking more than I should or am I forgetting, what, I don't know what's happening. So I start keeping a notebook. So when I get the script, when I take it, I write it down each time. 15 short again. Here's, whatever month you want to pick. So that goes on for a couple of months, and I can't figure out quite where they're going. So obviously, I talked to my then wife about, I'm like, I'm keep missing these, like, something's not right. To the point of going to the pharmacy and saying, hey, you only put 30 pills in there, not 45. And getting told to, like, getting into an argument and getting told to get out because I'm med seeking and having to go to another pharmacy. And I'm like, I didn't take them. Like, I don't want any more. I just want what I'm supposed to have. I'm like, I wasn't, you could have kept the 15 if I'm just letting you know that you shorted it.
But they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Okay.
And they didn't short the Xanax either. Because now I have notebooks. Like, this is where it got to. And then it got to where, okay, so now I'm questioning my ex-wife. Like, and do you know anybody, like, we were up to a swim club, or I'm like, somebody going in the house and taking them? Because at the time, they just sat on my nightstand. Yeah, probably irresponsible with kids, but my kids never went anywhere near the medication. They just knew, and that wasn't a thing then. I wouldn't advise doing that now. It seems like kids shove whatever they can get down their throat. That's when we went to the pharmacy, and then I had to switch pharmacies because that one kicked me out. And I started to suspect that it may be her, but I didn't know, like, why would it be? Didn't make any sense. So I start keeping them on me. So now I've got 2 prescription bottles in my pocket, like, all the time. And then when I go to sleep, I'm sticking them under my pillow because I'm thinking, well, if somebody is taking them, they won't be able to get them now. Well, I was wrong, because apparently I was that heavy of a sleeper that they were able to get the bottle, take a couple, and put it back without waking me up.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Even other outside family members got blamed that they were coming in the house. So this is where it got a little, like, psychotic. So there's a chain lock. There's storm door that's locked. Then there's, the chain and a deadbolt. So somebody got through all of that, took 2 pills, and then put the chain back on the door and left the house without, metal steps, everything.
And just 2 pills.
So that's where I started going, all right, so now I'm catching it before it's at the end of the month. I'm catching it day by day. Every other day, whatever, 2 pills, a pill. I'm like, all right, they're with me or they're underneath me. So there's only 3 people that could be doing it. And that would be either one of my 2 children or my ex-wife. The kids don't even know what it is. At 9 and 12 back then.
No, they would. I mean,
Nobody knew what a benzo was, what it did, if you could get high off of it, or what you could do.
right.
It's not like today where, they make drugs out of Dove soap or whatever. So that's starting to cause arguments because I know who's taking it, but I can't prove it. And as long as they keep denying it,
There's not much you could do.
I was friends with one of the police officers who was a detective and later became chief. And I had went to him and I was like, what, on a professional capacity, what can be done? He's like, not much. He's like, even if you get go to a like medical supply place and you can buy the bottles, the plain bottles, he goes, put on like cotton gloves, alcohol, wipe it. You put a couple pills in it, leave it sit on the side. When they're gone, bring it up. I fingerprint it.
I don't know if that would have worked anyway because
No,
she
no,
lived in the
that's
house.
what he just said. He goes, even if we did this, it doesn't mean shit.
Right.
He goes, she's your wife living in the house just because her fingerprints are on the bottle means
Right.
she picked the bottle up the dust.
Right.
She moved the bottle. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And if it's in an empty bottle, can you now prove that it was even in there if you do turn around? And he goes, and the charges are so minimal. He goes, it's going to cause more problems for the kids than it is for her. You know, that kind of situation. Like, it's going to cause problems and everybody's going to know, but it's not like she's going to suddenly stop doing it
Right.
if she has a problem. So that went on. That eventually, I would say by 2006, 2007, had stopped completely because I think by then she was on her own. We were in an accident in 97 where she had a back injury and was on medication then, but then off, and then started having problems again after a surgery for something else that I don't remember, and then back on pain meds. So I think what she was doing was she got back on the pain meds. I don't remember being aware of it at that time that she was back on them. And I think she was taking whatever would relieve whatever she was having problems with, which included my stuff,
Yeah, but
which she had later on admitted to stealing and taking. And I later on found out that she had an issue with prescription medication.
Xanax and Klonopin wouldn't take pain away.
No, but like I said, later on I found out that she was taking them, and she, had said that I don't know what the issue. I think the stress of me being out of work and the financial problems and all of that. Don't look at me like that. I'm just telling you what I was told. I'm not saying any of it's true or false. I'm just telling what I was told.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this right. The stress of you dealing with an illness that she didn't believe you had caused her to do these other things.
I don't know if she still didn't believe at that point. You're talking 10 plus years later. So she obviously knew I had something. I just think it was more of an annoyance. Like, I'd rather not deal with this. So let me take this stuff. Again, I'm not speaking for her. I'm just saying what I think.
No, I get that, but
and I'm also saying what she had told me.
I guess my whole thing is, if it was so stressful because you weren't working and everything was that, then instead of doing what was done,
she
try to assist the problem, not cause it to get worse.
She had her own issues.
I get that.
She was raised a certain way, and she was, she had her own problems that, if she wants to talk about, that's on her. So that's how she chose to deal with it.
So what happened from that point?
Well, I didn't find that out till much later that she, once she admitted it. But so 2007, the apartment that we're at gets sold. And it's sold to these, 20 something, kids that came from money or whatever. And, the rent goes from $400 or $500 to $800, which I was barely affording the $400 or $500, let alone that. And they want to come in and do all these renovations. And I'm like, so at the time, her brother owned a piece of property that had two apartments, and the top one was empty, and we were told we could go live there. So for about a year and a half, we were there. That was a complete disaster as far as the relationship. That's when it really started impacting the girls. They're now old enough to really be able to see what's going on. The you know you know if you know anybody that's a drug addict, you'll know what I'm talking about when I just say that behavior. I'm not going to get into all that. Um, so while that was going on, I had already started playing poker. With the guys on, the Saturday night game or whatever, with all the guys and that we hung around with. So it was at somebody's house or at the swim club in the summer or wherever. And then somebody else had told me about um, this game that was like at a restaurant. I forget what night of the week it was. I want to say like Tuesday or Thursday, something like that. And they played, it was like 10 or $20. And I did good at the home games, you know. So I was like, some supplemental income, not the best thing to do as far as, putting out money to hope that you do it. But, you know, that that with the girls being a lot more active outside of the house got me away from her. And poker was another one of those things that even though I was around a bunch of people that I had no clue who they were, and I should have been like nervous and I'm going to lose or am I going to win, perfectly calm and um, just concentrated on the cards and the math and all that, playing Texas Hold'em. Um, so then I started finding about this thing that used to be called XPT. It was like Extreme Poker Tournament, and that would be held at local bars on certain days of the week. So literally, I was out of the house 7 days, every night. If it wasn't sports or the swim club or whatever, I was at one of these events playing poker. And that became like 7 days a week. And that was just to stay away from her and be out of the house and not have to deal with that crap. Which, again, not the best thing in the world. There are probably other ways that I could have handled it, but um, I had never dealt with anybody that was that far into addiction or that I had to live with that was that far into it. I knew a couple other people that had gone through it, but I didn't have to live with them. So it's kind of like,
Didn't phase you as much.
yeah, it's like I don't have to put up with it. So that's your problem. Um, by 2008, well, at the end of 2007, we find out that her father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He passed in early, like February, I want to say, 2008, which I guess, she spiraled even more. She moved out for like 3 months with the kids and was living at her parents' house.
Where were you at this time?
I was still at that apartment.
Okay.
Um, by 2009, I think her brother was selling the property, or I don't. I'm a little hazy on what actually happened, but we had to leave, which was fine. So I went to my mom's. I moved back to my mom's in 2009. It was July 1st, 2009, I think. Christine, who was my oldest daughter, had already like moved out and was living with a friend because she had had enough of the whole situation. Which I'm going to take, some blame and fault for that because maybe if I'd have been around and a little more at that time or at home more than just during the day or during sports, maybe things would have been different. But I don't know. My youngest daughter, she ended up. I think she moved down there with her in the beginning, and then went and stayed with friends of mine. I'd actually, they had offered for her to live there so she could finish out school because I was going to have her come with me, but she was going to have to switch schools.
And at this point, she had to be almost a senior, right?
She was going into her junior year.
Okay.
Her junior year. Because my oldest just graduated that in 2009. So it was her beginning of her junior year. And she didn't want to leave school. So made this arrangement that, she could stay there and then I would pay for this and that. And, just what I thought was the best thing at the time. Again, I'm not going to have you here and I'm not going to lie to the school district and tell you you're living wherever. And because that's my mom that could have gotten in trouble for that.
Right.
And I know there's people out there like, oh, everybody does it. Yeah, well, I'd rather not. So, that was her choice. Again, it wasn't an easy one. And, again, I'll take the blame as far as if I would have done better earlier in life, maybe financially things would have been different and all this shit would have never happened. I don't know. But the one thing that I noticed that shortly after I moved in back into my mom's, back into my room that I had been in since 1981 until 93 when I got married and left. And then 16 years later, back, and a lot of the panic, the anxiety, a lot of that, like, tightness in the shoulders just kind of faded away. Not completely, but got a lot better. And looking back, the only thing I could say is the stress of being responsible for the two girls and the wife and all that stuff I didn't have anymore, or to a lesser degree. And I know people are going to be like, did you get a divorce? No, but that's kind of what it felt like. I didn't have to worry about, like, as something as simple as putting your medication on next to your bed and going downstairs and making dinner or watching TV and going back up and not have to open it and count it.
Right.
That's a big relief. There's going to be a lot of people that go, oh, so it's.
But how much?
If you have to go through that crap for that long, and then all of a sudden you don't have to deal with that dumb shit anymore, it's a big relief.
But how much arguing was there too?
It was all the time.
So I mean, yeah. So I get the stress because you didn't have the responsibility, but it wasn't. You also weren't. I don't want to say walking on eggshells, but it wasn't a constant argument. It wasn't a constant battle. I think a lot of that has to do with it.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much, I guess I'll backtrack a little on the constant arguing, but there was the constant frustration of living with somebody who was dealing with their own thing that I saw as self-inflicted, where that will creep up at a later date where it got compared to what I was going through. And I'm like, no. And sorry for anybody out there that's dealing with it. This is going to piss off a whole lot of people. Drug addiction's a choice. You chose to take those pills. You chose to keep increasing the amount. At that time and at this time, everybody knows how addictive or what the circumstances are around that stuff. So comparing somebody who did absolutely nothing and got an illness with somebody who took something and maybe you want to call it an illness, no, they're not even in the same ballpark.
I agree with you on that. The only thing I will say about the drug addiction is depending, not, I would say 98% of the time, yes, I would agree with you. There are certain situations where it's a little different, yes.
There are kids who've been in severe accidents
Right.
who the parents over medicate them. They become physically and psychologically dependent on those drugs, and your body builds up tolerances.
Yes.
They get a pass. But people who are taking this stuff as adults, knowing that I'm just taking it to get high,
Okay, that was my thing.
escape, and you become addicted. Yes, I understand that becoming physically addicted is a medical condition. I get that.
How you got there, there
But
wasn't.
yes, that you got the ball rolling. So I didn't start by giving myself panic attacks.
Right.
And it just got worse.
Right.
So to compare the two, and I'm not talking about that one person. I'm talking about outside people who compared it or blamed me for it. And if they ever get wind of this, they know who they are and they can go fuck themselves, because that was just ridiculous.
So my whole thing is, and I say this all the time, and if it offends people, so be it. Percocet, oxycodone, oxycontin, they are pain relievers, not pain go awayers. So
They take the edge off.
they take the edge off. If you are getting high when
It's a Band-Aid.
I want to take offense to that because there are sometimes you need to take it, but I get what you're saying.
But it doesn't cure the problem. It just masks it.
Or
It may help you get through that day without going insane, but
or get you to where you're no longer having pain because you can fix whatever's the problem.
You either need rehab or surgery.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just going to be on them the rest of your life, and then you're going to graduate to heroin, fentanyl, whatever.
So what I'm trying to say is if you're getting high, the pain, you were taking more than what you needed for the pain. Because if you're getting high, you don't have any pain. Because if you take a medication like that, it goes to your pain receptors. If you're getting high, that medication is not needed for the pain you're dealing with.
I've had one Percocet in my life, and I hated it.
So I'm assuming you had it for dental work?
Yeah, I had a broken tooth.
And they don't even give it anymore.
Yeah, I hated it.
So now when you have dental work, they'll give you Tylenol with codeine or Advil.
But I will say this. I can also understand how somebody would enjoy it.
I don't.
It made me, I can speak on the benzos, on the Xanax, whatever.
You don't care.
I could see how somebody could be like, well, you've been on them for 30 years. You're telling me you're not addicted to them? No, I'm not. Because I don't take them every day. There's times where the Xanax could go weeks and I don't take anything. The Klonopin, yes, I take one every day as prescribed. But I don't mega dose. I don't overdose. I'm not doing. Have I taken more than one Xanax at a time at some point? Yes. When it's that bad, I've probably maybe taken up to 2 milligrams. But most people, they're starting them out at that dose. Like 2 milligrams is like, I'm sure there's people watching this that are going to go, that's nothing.
I was scripted more than that when my mom passed away.
Yeah, so I'm on such a low dose, and I have no interest. I've decreased, like I said, the Xanax, it went from 0.25 to 0.5, but at one point it was 90 a month that I was going through, and I was going through them. And then it went down to 60, and it's now at 45. And I could probably drop that down even lower.
My thing is, and I guess this is where I have a very bad taste in my mouth. As you know, I am in constant pain.
Mhm.
I don't take it, Advil and Tylenol. Percocet, to me, it doesn't do enough for the pain for me to take it.
For you.
For me.
Right. There are some people that can take a half a Percocet and they're good for a week. And there's other people that can eat a bottle of it and it doesn't do anything.
So, and that's my whole thing. It's,
And you shouldn't be taking a bottle of anything.
I don't
Once again, no medical advice coming from here.
understand people's mindset. And I've said it to people that pop Percocet like they're candy because they want the high. You know what needs to happen to you? You need to get into a car crash, break both your legs and break your pelvis, because now the Percocet's not going to work. And they look at me and they're like, that's harsh. I'm like, no, that's reality. You're taking something that is supposed to be an aid to help you get over a traumatic injury. And now because...
I think it's the same way with any medication. Antibiotics are the same way. If you're using them constantly, eventually they don't work anymore.
And welcome MRSA.
So
That's why MRSA's here.
I mean,
I
think any medication that you overuse is going to become ineffective, or you're going to have to just mega dose the crap out of it to get any either relief and or high if that's what you're using it for.
And unfortunately, like you said, one Percocet, you hated the way it made you feel. You saw when I ended up in the hospital, it was like they gave you the one shot. You were like, I can relax now. I don't feel nothing.
Intravenous Ativan is what they gave me for the surgery. And that, like, I don't even know, she was done depressing the needle. And you could have told me you were cutting my head off and sewing it to the carpet, and I wouldn't have cared. I was like, did I got this stuff for every day? So again, anybody out there getting infuriated because of my stance on drug addiction, I understand how you can get to that point, but at least take the personal responsibility that it was your fault that you got there.
Right. I mean, that's...
my financial situation is my fault 100%. I'm in my situation because of choices that I've made. I'm not blaming it on the illness or anybody else. So just maybe one doesn't have anything to do with the other. I don't know. Might have been a bad analogy. You're going to get plenty of them if you watch this long enough.
I just think, I get what you're saying. I agree. And for somebody to compare it...
Just stop blaming society and stop blaming the doctors. Are there pharmaceutical companies and doctors out there that are pushing that crap, or that were? There probably still are. Yes. I personally know of a couple doctors, one of them that is either dead or still sitting in jail for selling scripts.
He's still in jail.
But so, I know of doctors who were just, here you go.
Which makes it harder for the ones who need it.
Right. And thank you to all the drug addicts out there. You've made my life even more difficult, that you have to jump through all these hoops just to get your normal medication that you've been getting for 20 plus, whatever years. It's, or you've got the pharmacist looking at you like, you don't need to be on both of these. You just need to do your job. You don't need to do the doctor's job.
No, that's because to make sure. Well, if it's coming from the same doctor, it shouldn't matter.
And that's my thing, is like, it's always come from the same doctor. It's never been from. I don't bring in a script from this doctor, a script from that doctor. I don't go to different pharmacies.
It's gotten to the point now, some insurances don't even cover narcotic pain medication.
And you can thank the drug addicts for that.
Yeah. So at this point, you're back. Maybe still have more time. You're back at your mom's.
Yeah, it's just my mom. She'd already retired. She retired in 2007, so she retired 2 years prior to me moving in. But when I had told her about it, like, when I moved in, there was like a TV and a refrigerator and a a new bed sitting there, like waiting. Like she was more than thrilled.
Yeah, I could see that because you were her baby. You were.
I wasn't thrilled about it. You know, I wanted to be on my own. I don't want to, you know, I have this, my mentality is whose ever roof you're living under their rules. And at the time I was 39. I didn't want to be living, when I was 9, I didn't want to be under anybody's rules, let alone when I'm 39. So, but, you know, obviously grateful. You know, I love my mom, and I was grateful that I had a place to go to instead of living in my car, you know. So, you know.
So things started to get a little bit better for you.
As far as my mood and some of that, there were still things like, again, I was still with my ex-wife at the time. We weren't separated or anything. We weren't living together, but we were still, it was kind of like dating your wife.
So I'm going to ask a question that I'm sure a lot of people want to know. You already know what the question is. Do you need me to ask it? Why did you stay? The kids were grown.
No, I didn't know what you were going to ask. That's why I was worried.
The kids were grown.
Well, the youngest one wasn't. I mean, she's still in high school.
She knew what was going on, though.
Well, yes. They both knew.
How bad it was.
I don't know if they knew. Well, they knew how bad it was at that point.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, it got worse. Let's put it that way.
That's what I'm saying. They knew how bad it was. So why? And I'm sure everyone's kind of asking the same question. Why stay?
Why didn't I leave before 2009?
Even when you left at 2009, why date her if it was still that bad?
Oh. That would go back to the panic disorder. And what if?
What if what?
What if there's no other women out there that will understand or deal with somebody like me? You got to remember, I was with her from the time I was 19, you know, into my 40s. So I didn't have a whole lot of like relationships to go, well, this one, there was that, no, it's all I knew.
So this is going to sound horrible and I don't mean it to, and if anyone is offended by this, how long were you an emotional cutter? Because that's exactly what you're doing to yourself.
An emotional cutter?
Yes.
Like just carving up my feelings?
No, you're self-inflicting, but it's doing it emotionally.
Oh, I still self-inflict
but
crap on myself.
But I'm saying like...
It's better me do it than anybody else.
But no, it's almost like...
Trust me. So, I mean, we'll fast forward and then go back.
Do you want to, hold on, do you want to start a new episode and do that? Like how, is this like an in-depth one?
Of why?
Yes, the back and forth, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so we're going to stop there and now we're going to hear his illogical thinking of why.
My bullshit excuses.
It's like watching a ping pong or a really bad tennis match. Doing, 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 doing. So we will be back shortly, guys.